Hello. As promised, I'm going to expand on the comments that I made in the Google forum by making this little video about what all the sections do. And this is the list of sections that you'll find at the end of the assignment sheet. So you have to have these sections and you have to have them in this order. So first of all, a letter transmittal. This is something I or the beer equipment guy would be writing last because it's not really that important. It's a formality. It should be a nice formal block letter, and it can start with, this is a proposal that I entitled, or this is a proposal entitled blah, blah, blah that I wrote because we were losing money repairing equipment. Yes. And then I would give a brief overview. And then I would close maybe with some thank yous. I thank the intern who helped me do all this. I thank accounting. I thank anybody else. Thank you very much for your consideration of this matter. I'm available. If you have any questions at all, please contact me and I'll meet with you at your convenience. So that kind of letter it is. That's considered front matter, so it doesn't really count in the page count. Also front matter, a title page. I don't care what format you use as long as it looks professional. The beer equipment guy may well find that his job, they have a template they use for this kind of stuff. Table of contents. If I were the beer equipment guy, I would know I have sections, I have subsections, and I maybe even have some sub-subsections. So I'm going to list them all here with a page number. And to make it look nice, I want to have the same style as the title page. Next, list of illustrations tables. Note, I do want you to put any illustrations, graphs, tables, pictures, diagrams, etc. inside the body of the proposal. So, if I were the beer equipment guy, I might be saying, hey, I know I'm going to have some charts here. I'm going to have like some smaller diagrams of the equipment I want to buy. I'm going to have all those. So I'm going to give them a name and I'm going to give them a page number. Okay, that's done. Should be on a separate page from the title page, by the way. Next, still considered front matter, sadly, is the executive summary. This I would also write last. It's basically just going to give a rundown of all the major numbers, costs, really important findings, implementation measures, just the bare basics. And I'm going to put that there because it's like a cheat sheet of the whole proposal. Now, you don't have to follow the format of the proposal. So if I were the beer equipment guy, I'm going to think, I don't want to have all these different subsections that I have listed here. That's kind of dumb. So I'm just going to remake the sections, or I'm going to use paragraphs and sum up the plan. So there you have it, executive summary. Note, it's not an introduction, so don't treat it like a book introduction. It's not at all. All right, purpose of project. All right, purpose of project. This is where he wants to do three things because he knows his boss has a lot to do and nobody loves reading proposals. It's just not a pleasure. So he wants to get him interested. He's going to start by describing the problem. Not at length, but he's going to do enough to make it sound exigent. So he's going to make it sound urgent, like it's a matter that really needs some attention. The second thing is he's going to state what the plan is, and he's going to be specific. He's going to say, I want to buy the Japanese piece of equipment, blah, blah, blah. Note, he's not waiting till the end of the proposal to say this. He's saying it right here. Finally, he's going to give some estimates, projections, compare with successful cases, or generally just make a few promises. In his case, it would be very easy because he probably has figured out how much productivity would rise if they didn't have to spend all the time fixing these machines. So that's an example of one thing he could put at the end to get his boss interested. All right, so moving then to background. As I said, this isn't really necessary. You don't have to come up with anything. If you can't think of anything, it's all right. You can leave it out. He might say that there's this nifty article in 1979 that talked about how they were in the forefront of technology. He might decide to talk about that. Or he might decide to give a few explanations or definitions for somebody who doesn't really understand the technical language like the people in accounting. Okay. Anyway, though, his boss is sure to skip over this if he's in a hurry. Next, the discussion of findings. This is the heart of the whole proposal. So do it first. Do all your research first. This is where he needs to come up with all the research that he used to justify this idea. Because his boss is not just going to say yes, because in the purpose of project he said we should buy this piece of equipment. The boss needs to know what is the factual evidence that supports this idea. So the beer guy is going to put in all the information that he researched that points to yes. This might include a description of the old equipment and its deficiencies. It might include then a description of the new technology and the new equipment, and it might also talk about vendors, and it would probably do a comparison contrast of the equipment that's available, just so he could say that the one I choose is the best. He might also go over the budget. So all of these things would go into the discussion of findings. Do it first. Conclusions. In the conclusions, just don't make it long. Just pull all the factual information from the discussion of findings and put it as inferences in the conclusions section. So don't make it long. Just put it there. It pretty much kind of summarizes the research that was done in discussion of findings that didn't really exist at the beginning of the proposal. Recommendations is also kind of long usually. It's where he says, this is the implementation scenario that I'm going to give you to prove that it's feasible. This whole project is feasible. And one thing that's kind of handy is he might start with a timeline, because then when you set up the timeline, you know all the different parts of the idea that you need to explain, describe, and justify. He might also want to put some information about training at his factory, maybe evaluation after a year to see whether it needs any tweaks or they need some supplementary equipment or who knows. So that's what recommendations is all about. Now references, I do want everybody to list their 10 sources at the end of the proposal on a separate page. You can use MLA if you want throughout the proposal. You can use APA if you want. Or you can use natural citation style, like you would find in a news magazine. And you can name the references or citation page, anything you want, but just list those. Have a method to your madness. Finally, appendices. This is a place where you put information that's too long or detailed to put in the regular part of the proposal. So if he had some really big spreadsheets, he might put them here, if he thought his boss would be interested in looking at them. If he had some really detailed diagrams that he certainly wouldn't want to put in the middle of his argument, he might put them here. But most of you won't have this, and most of you don't need to have it. So this is only if you decide. So that's it. And yeah, please let me know if you have any questions and I can explain a little bit further. Thanks.